If you've ever wondered why some women walk away and somehow become unforgettable, why a man who once felt untouchable suddenly lies awake at night questioning his own worth, ask yourself this uncomfortable question right now. What if the version of you he lost is the version that will haunt him forever? And what if the reason he hasn't cried yet is because you're still trying to be seen instead of becoming impossible to reach? That thought alone should sting a little, because it quietly attacks identity, it whispers fear into certainty, and it opens a door most people are too afraid to walk through, and once you step inside, there's no going back. Here's the truth most people never say out loud: men don't emotionally fall apart when something ends, they fall apart when something changes without explanation. In the first moments after a connection shifts, there's confusion before pain, curiosity before regret, and denial before longing, and this is where most women accidentally sabotage themselves by rushing in with clarity, closure, and explanations. Think about the last time you over-explained your feelings. Did it bring him closer, or did it quietly train his nervous system to feel safe without you? Because safety kills curiosity, and curiosity is the seed of emotional attachment. But hold on, because this only works if something else happens next, something far more unsettling for him. At some point, every man unconsciously builds a mental map of you, how you respond, how available you are, how predictable your care feels, and the moment that map becomes useless, his mind panics. Not outwardly, not with dramatic texts or emotional speeches, but internally, where the real damage happens. Suddenly, he can't read you anymore, and the human brain hates uncertainty more than loss itself. This is where silence stops being empty and starts becoming loud, where absence isn't punishment but a mirror reflecting his own assumptions back at him. And here's the question that creeps in for him late at night: if I was so sure she'd always be here, why does her calm distance feel like rejection? Most people think men miss intensity, arguments, passion, chaos. But what actually unsettles them is peace without them. When you detach without anger, without bitterness, without theatrics, it disrupts his emotional math. He expected sadness, maybe resentment, maybe another attempt to fix things, and instead he gets composure. That composure quietly asks a terrifying question he can't answer: was I the center of her world, or just a chapter she finished reading? And the more he can't answer it, the more his mind starts replaying moments he once ignored, moments that didn't seem important at the time, moments he assumed would repeat forever. But why do those memories suddenly hurt now? Here's where psychology becomes uncomfortable. Men often anchor their self-image to being good enough, and they protect that belief fiercely. When you stop reacting, stop seeking reassurance, stop needing validation from him, you unintentionally challenge that identity. He doesn't feel attacked by you, he feels questioned by himself. Was I inattentive? Was I careless? Did I misjudge her value? And this self-questioning doesn't happen all at once, it seeps in slowly, like water through cracks, growing heavier with each unanswered thought. The mind doesn't cry immediately, but it keeps score, and eventually, the weight demands release. Now let's talk about the mistake that destroys this entire process before it even begins. Many women try to look strong while still emotionally waiting, checking notifications, analyzing his silence, secretly hoping he notices their absence. But emotional waiting is still attachment, and attachment is still felt. Humans are intuitive creatures, and men sense when someone is still orbiting them, even quietly. The moment he feels you're still available, still paused, still emotionally on hold, his urgency dissolves. But what happens when your life genuinely starts moving forward, not to prove anything, not to perform healing, but because your energy has shifted somewhere else entirely? This is where fear quietly enters his chest, not the loud kind, but the deep, ego-threatening kind. Not, I miss her, but, what if I'm no longer relevant to her happiness? And relevance is everything to the male psyche. It's not about competition, it's about replacement, not necessarily by another man, but by a life that doesn't include him. When he imagines you laughing without knowing why, growing without needing approval, becoming softer and stronger at the same time, his mind fills in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. And those imagined scenarios feel real enough to hurt, but wait, this still isn't the moment he breaks. The emotional peak comes unexpectedly, and that's why it's so powerful. It's never during a dramatic conversation or a confrontation. It's usually during something painfully ordinary, a quiet evening, a familiar song, a smell that reminds him of nothing specific and everything at once. Suddenly, the emotional math catches up. The silence wasn't temporary. The calm wasn't weakness. The distance wasn't confusion. It was closure, and he didn't get a say. This is where the chest tightens, the throat burns, and the realization lands with brutal clarity: I didn't lose her when she left. I lost her when I stopped valuing who she was becoming. Here's the bitter truth most people aren't ready to hear: men don't cry because someone walks away, they cry because they realize too late that the version of the woman they lost no longer exists for them. She's not waiting, not hoping, not trying to be understood. She evolved quietly. And that evolution exposes something painful: the loss wasn't mutual. It was earned. And once that understanding settles in, tears aren't about sadness, they're about regret mixed with admiration mixed with self-blame, the most emotionally destabilizing combination there is. So if you're listening to this hoping for tactics, tricks, or shortcuts, let me gently redirect you. This isn't about making someone suffer. It's about reclaiming your own emotional gravity. When you stop centering someone who stopped centering you, when you return your focus to your own growth without announcement, without bitterness, without performance, something profound happens. You become a question instead of an answer. And unanswered questions linger longer than explanations ever could. And the final warning, the one most people ignore: if you use this understanding while still craving a reaction, it will fail. The power only works when you no longer need the outcome. Because the moment you genuinely choose yourself, you shift from chasing validation to embodying value. And value doesn't shout. It echoes.